What's happening, family? It is your man, CRB Jr. here at Big Boss Filmworks Motown Mafia podcast. To my left is my man, my brother, and my partner, Big Lou Stevens. What up, fam?
What up, man?
You all right?
It's been a very interesting week.
Yeah. We was doing some traveling. Just got back from the Big Apple.
Yeah.
You guys are going to get a chance to see some of that stuff. And again, had two very particular good meetings up there at Columbia and with our friend up in Harlem. And,
Yeah, big up to Mike Castellez.
Yeah. You know, using your network will determine your net worth.
Absolutely.
And that is a fact on that. But yeah, so family, glad to be back at it. First show, episode 58 of the Motown Mafia podcast. Want to just say thank you all again for the support shown in 2022. The growth of this channel has been consistent and impressive, and we don't take any of it for granted.
Absolutely, it's been ascending.
Yeah, without question, we'll be hitting another milestone very, very shortly, and we got a ton of stuff coming your way in 2023 on our much anticipated and long awaited launching of our Patreon channel. But again, we don't want to just do it, so we went out to the coast. We really did some exclusive shooting in New York. That again, you guys are going to get an opportunity when you come over to our Patreon channel to check it out.
Yeah.
But it being Martin Luther King's birthday,
That's right.
first holiday of 2022.
That's
I
right.
thought we'd do a quick little look back on, or the first holiday of 2023, rather.
2023. That's right.
The first
Happy
holiday.
New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year to everybody, and happy MLK Day to the whole family out there. But why don't we take a look back real briefly on what stuck out to you in 2022?
Man, for me, it was a watershed year. And for you as well. You know, we had some losses.
Without doubt, that definitely is on our list. So R.I.P. to your grandmom, and you can speak on that.
R.I.P. to Big 50.
To my brother 250. Both just were huge losses to the whole Big Boss family and to us personally.
Yes, definitely.
You know, to say I lost a friend, I didn't lose a friend. I lost a brother. You only get one grandma.
You only get one.
You know, like that. You know,
like on that tip. Yeah.
On that tip, right? And it is life, but life is for the living.
And it is.
But assuredly, henceforward, all the things we do, there will be are dedicated to the memories of Annie Stevens and the memories of Craig Joseph Johnson, a.k.a. 250. But so that was a big thing. So those of you guys, the fans out there, you know, you remember this summer we took a real sabbatical or 6-week break away from everything, and that's what was going on in the Big Boss world was just dealing with those real life situations and real life issues. But on a lighter note, BMF.
Man, BMF.
The phenomenon continues.
Dude, big time.
So shout out to T, shout out to Meech, shout out to all those good people over at G Unit and Little T. What the success of that whole franchise of BMF has been able to do, and what it's done for all of us in that genre, in the true crime genre, it's been a blessing. Shout out to Scott Bernstein and the great work that he's done over there. With BMF and dealing with Meech and with T. He's seen on Blowing Money Fast, the BMF documentary, and he's done a ton of consulting on the actual BMF series. Definitely. You know, Scott's been with us, for you guys who don't know, from the beginning of this project with us. And, you know, as BMF has brought Detroit and the whole game to the forefront, then we're going to get to later in the show a review of episode 1 of the BMF documentary. But when you were watching episode 1 of the scripted series, you know, this photo, let's see if we can get it here.
Yeah.
When they do the montage of all the players who set the stage, let's put this up here, in fact.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's put this up here where it belongs. Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm back. Yeah, and we're remodeling the studio here. It's been a process. We're clearing this out. This place has done so many different things for us over the years, but we're really going to be dedicating it to doing some pods because we got some hot interviews that we do plan on doing for everybody this year. But yeah, so anyway, in episode 1 of the scripted series BMF, they're doing a montage of all the people who set the tone for it. And, you know, there's photos of Demetrius Holloway, Big Frank, Nitty Usher,
That's right.
Maserati Rick, and of course the Fat Man and the Filmworks, Courtney Brown and Eddie Jackson. And that was a nice shout out those guys gave us over here to show that they are aware too that Meech and that crew followed a long line of prolific hustlers that they came out of. So they had some really great mentors when it came to what they did. Yep. So yeah, it's just been awesome, man.
Yeah, you had your thing, your cable television debut with Reels TV, America's Most Evil.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, look at America's Most Evil on Reels. They brought me in to do a little consulting work. They were doing a thing on YBI, the Butch Jones era. Shout out to all those guys from that YBI era. Shout out to Mr. Cooper Pep. Shout out to Big Steve 5. Brother Jabba the Hutt and Scotty and all those guys from that neighborhood. Some of which, all you guys which are welcome to come aboard and sit down and share some of the rich history. I think a lot of those guys from that YBI era, again, they were all like Pops and a lot of the people in our circle. They were all so close to it.
Yeah.
That they don't realize the impact.
It was just a part of life.
It was a part of life, but all through, and definitely in the BMF series, they give YBI their shine because those were the guys who really influenced Meech and T's behavior, the way that those guys were flossing and moving, and to see young black guys not waiting to get their bag, but actually going without passing judgment for right or wrong.
Right.
They were going to get their situation together. Then you got in the podcast world the passing of the brother Kevin Samuels.
Yes, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. What that brother did on Black YouTube, or I should just say YouTube in general, the growth of his channel, and I think he may be like the first straight YouTube content creator that, without any network backing or any of that, just came into black culture.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I told you about him maybe a year and a half ago. And within 6 months after you were like, you should check out this guy's content. He's got some interesting outlooks on the black community and black relationships. That this guy had 1 million subscribers, and he was the talk of every barber. He was like Hov and them. Nitro.
He was the conversation in every barbershop and salon in the hood. So shout out to Kevin Samuels. Definitely was a big loss in 2022. The ending of the pandemic, kind of.
Yes, sort of.
Wow, so that's a whole thing. We won't get into too much of that pandemic.
The whole pandemic politics.
Yeah, because it's so political.
Pandemic.
Yeah, he said it, I didn't. That whole thing. And then hip hop, keeping it real.
Yeah.
RICO indictments.
Whoa.
It got real for people in the hip hop community. The games have stopped. I wish all those young men well. What's going on with the clique down in Atlanta and all the silliness that we do in our community. This guy snitching on that guy. Well, you guys who don't know, when them folks get involved, it gets real. It stops being about streams and likes and going platinum.
Right.
Because those folks don't care nothing about that. I think it's even a bigger issue, though. The people in Atlanta, the money people in Atlanta are like, enough's enough.
I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't. I mean, it's like, how do you grow as an artist if you're afraid you're not going to live to enjoy it?
Well, or the bigger question I think that maybe 2022 brought up is, do the people in the hip hop industry, do you want to be artists or do you want to be gangsters? And the feds are saying, you boys need to really decide.
Right.
Because if you want to play gangster, we can do that.
Exactly.
We can play that game, and if you want to be artist, but you ain't gonna do both. You ain't gonna be real. You ain't gonna be doing all this run around, shooting up, killing up people, and then dropping albums going platinum.
Right.
No, one or the other.
Make up your mind.
Make up your mind. So that, and I think the ramifications of that are going to spread all through 2023 and the future, because if they really get into start using lyrics and lifestyle, and every U.S. attorney starts to say these rap organizations, these record labels, are actually criminal organizations.
It's a racket, right? Then it's a rap for the game.
It is. It's going to be different. Very, 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 very different. So, yeah, 2022.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like you guys to chime in and tell me also what you guys think were some of the high points in 2022, and what you think was impactful in our community or to you and to yours, and all of the above.
Absolutely.
In 2022. So, you have heard the phrase "money talks."
I have heard it many a time.
Well, money does talk, and somebody, I was listening actually to a Jay-Z line. For you guys who don't know, I'm a lifetime Hova fan.
Right on.
And he's got a line in one of his songs: "If money talks, then I must be screaming." Right?
Right.
And it made me think of a couple anecdotes about really when you're handling money and the world knows you're handling money at a certain level, that the rules that apply to the masses don't apply to you.
Right.
Because actually your money is doing the talking for you.
Yeah.
Right? So let me give you a setting. It is 1983.
Okay.
Eddie the Fat Man Jackson has just been released from federal prison, coming off of the 32-man run, his grand hustle of the 70s, and he's now a free man. He's at a car dealership by the name of Packard Pontiac, owned by a guy named Dave Rice.
Okay.
Now, by the time this story happens, Eddie has bought a Corvette, the new 84 Corvette in 83 that hadn't come out yet.
Wow.
Bought Eddie Baby brand new Trans Am T-top. Bought the family a new Bonneville. Bought his daughter, I think Pontiac 6000 STE, and he's already ordered his 500 SEC coupe. This is all within about 6 months of him being free. Whoa. So, Mom is, unbeknown to her, happens to be at the car dealership. At this time, Mom is still not. This is maybe about 2 years before she's about to launch the family business. So she's a director for the state, an administrator, a bureaucrat, right?
Right.
So she's still waiting on Pops to come home. Eddie got actually released. We'll get into that, how the irony on how that worked, that Eddie got out before my father got out. But different story for a different time. It was true, but the authorities told him for his loyalty he would be punished, and he would end up doing more time than Eddie on that case. So anyway, Mom's at the car dealership, going about doing what regular people do when they go buy cars, which is fill out all kinds of paperwork and deposit. And, anybody who's ever bought a car back in the day knows it used to damn near be like an all-day thing.
Right.
And any inconsistency in the paperwork or credit score
can throw the whole process off about maybe 24 hours.
Easily. It was nothing for back in the day. You go to the dealership, think you're buying a car. This paperwork didn't get back in, this, that, and the third. If you're not paying for the car cash, it was an all-day thing.
Yeah.
So Mom's in there doing the paper pusher thing, buying her car. As fate would have it, Eddie Jackson walks by. They think they recognize each other, but they're not sure. He comes back in the office and says, "Hey, T, is that you?" Mom's like, "Oh, Eddie, good to see you. Glad you out." Yada, 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 yada. Conversation's all cool, all friendly. He like, "So what you doing out here, T?" And Mom like, "I'm buying the Pontiac 6000."
Right.
And he said, "Oh, good. That's nice. It's nice. I just bought my daughter one of them." He said, "Well, what's going on? Why you got all them papers in front of you?" And Mom made the mistake of being honest with the big man. She tells him that they had to rerun the credit check and then find out if the down payment was sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, again, I mean, the dealership he's at, he had already bought during his grand hustle over 100 Cadillacs from the man. Literally. So Dave Rice and the people who run this dealership are more than familiar with who this man is, what his stature is, what his wealth is, right? So she tells Eddie that they got to do some double checking on the paperwork.
Okay.
He just loses it. He starts screaming, Dave, where's Dave at? The assistant manager comes out. What's the problem, Mr. Jackson? I don't want to talk to you. I need to talk to Dave. What's going on here? T need a car. She need a car now. She ain't got time for all this silly ass paperwork. Get that woman that car. She need that car right now. Dave Rice, the owner, comes out like, Eddie, what's going on? What's going on? He said, I just was talking to T, and she told me y'all got her in here filling all this silly ass paperwork, talking about credit scores and all that. That woman need that car. She need the car now. Money talks.
Yeah.
The owner of the car dealership tells his general manager, just give her the keys to the car. No more talking, no more paperwork, no more signatures. The guy's like, but she's got to fill out this and registration, and she's like, give her the keys. It's her car now. My mother says they come back, and the only thing they did was hand her the keys and say, we apologize for not having time to wash it.
Wow.
We'll get you the documents in time and get all the rest of it sorted out, but the car's yours now. Off of this man's banter.
Right. But money talks.
But money talk. Like this money, this car, we ain't talking about ain't nothing. You're inconveniencing a friend of mine.
And bullshit runs the decathlon.
And you know, the guys with money like me don't let my friends suffer these kind of situations.
Right.
And so it's just a little funny story, but it is true, family. It's the reason why we all need to get our finances and affairs in order, because I assure you there's a different world when the world knows you are a person of resources.
Ain't it, though?
All the same rules that apply. There are rules for people with resources, and then there's other rules for everybody else.
Big time.
And people with resources don't live by the same rules.
That's right.
Like, you got to sign this and get the title signed, and you need to show proof of insurance and registration before we can let you leave the car lot.
Not what you know, but who you know.
And who you know, what they know about you.
Ain't that the truth?
So if the car dealership knows that this is $1 million client.
That's right.
And I'm not going to lose $1 million client over a $20,000 car.
That's right.
I don't care what Miss Brown does with this car. Give her this car and make my $1 million client happy. Because big man's money was always talking.
Your father had a similar situation, am I correct?
Another example of money talking.
Yeah, exactly.
So those who've seen the movie Casino know that the mob was very involved in how Vegas got started, right? All the way going back to its inception. With Benjamin Bucky Siegel.
Right.
And those who really know the story know that the Purple Gang, the Jewish mob located right out of here, Detroit, had a lot to do with that whole Vegas thing.
Right on.
And some people really connected to both situations are the Goldfarb Construction and Goldfarb Bail Bondsmen.
Right.
They were the biggest bail bondsmen of the back in the day. Shout out to Chucky and R.I.P. to Irving Goldfarb. Right there still on Bobian.
That's your cousin?
Hey, cuz, what up, though? We gonna get Chino on here real soon. Yeah, Chino got to come on here.
Big time.
Chino got to get us some music for our intros.
You're right.
Yeah, love you, cuz. So Goldfarb, the biggest thing in bail bondsman, biggest thing in construction in Detroit area, completely tied in with all of those people, right?
Yeah.
So they wrote all those $1 million bonds for Eddie back in the day. You know, Eddie was keeping himself and the other 32 people on his indictment out on bond all the way from 71 when they were arrested to 77 when they have to turn themselves in. Despite, because it went through local courts, district, federal, state, superior, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they kept writing bonds. Yeah. So during the course of this whole thing, there's a situation where they had anticipated there having to be $200,000 worth of bonds posted to keep everybody out until the next trial, to the next court hearing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it ended up being they only had to pay $175,000 in bonds this particular juncture. So Pops is down at Chucky Goldfar's place, their place down on Bobian, right across the street from the old headquarters at 1300 Bobian.
Right.
And he says, all right, Courtney, here. He writes him a check, writes Pop a check for $25,000, says, get this back to y'all because we don't need to hold your money. Yeah. And we put up the 175. We thought it was 2. Here's the 25 back. Pops is like, fine. He's like, yeah, you just go cash it now. So Pop goes to Manufacturers Bank, which is now Comerica Bank, right?
Okay.
Now, again, to put some time reference to this is still the early 70s. Mm-hmm. Where $25,000 is like
that's $250K our money
of today's value in money, maybe at the rate of inflation now, maybe more than that, more than that, the way inflation is right now,
maybe closer to 3.
Yeah. So you know what would happen if you were a young black man and you walked into a bank, your local bank today, with a personal check for $300,000.
Right.
Some people might think that there was some type of fraud or something clever.
They do you done. Like Ryan Coogler. You know what happened to Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther. He went in, he had his mask on, COVID or whatnot, and then he wrote the statement, for, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about maybe 25,000 or 50,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. Nice size amount because he pays in cash. Mm-hmm. They called the police because they figured he was trying to rob the place.
Wow.
Yes.
And this is the guy who directed Black Panther?
Yes.
Go figure. See, well, game ain't changed.
Down in Georgia.
So that's still happening today.
That's still happening today, folks.
So Pop's trying to cash this check from the Goldfars. They telling them this and that. Every reason in the world why they can't cash the check. Finally, the branch manager comes and says, hey, we can't cash this check. The Goldfar bond bails bondsmen they don't got $25,000 in the bank.
Right.
Pop ain't thinking no more of it. He like, whatever, I'm going to take the check back down to Chuck Goldfar. They'll straighten it out. Mm-hmm. So he go back down to Chuck's office. Chuck on the phone, he like, hey, everything work out with the check? And Pop just being a little sarcastic say, Chuck, they say y'all ain't got enough money in the bank. They wouldn't cash the check. And he was like, Chuck Goldfar hung up the phone and said, what did you say? Repeat that again, please. He said, the people at the bank said, y'all ain't got the money in the bank to cover this $25,000 check. He was like, the man's face turns red. He's like, just have a seat for a second, Courtney. He picks up the phone, calls the bank. All he hears Goldfar says, I need to speak to the president of the bank. Not to the branch manager. He wants to talk to the president of Manufacturers Bank.
Right.
The fact that he knew the office number to call was the first indication because most people ain't got the president's office number.
That's right.
Direct number to his secretary. Secretary answers phone, president who's calling. Tell him Chuck Goldfar needs to talk to him. It's an emergency. Obviously, bank president gets on the phone. How you doing, Chuck? Mm-hmm. He says, Goldfar tells the man, he says, sir, or whatever he called him.
Right.
I just sent a personal friend of mine to cash a check for $25,000. And I'm really embarrassed about this because one of your branch managers told my friend that he couldn't cash the check for him because we didn't have enough money in the bank. And I guess, Pops, as he describes the story, the bank manager started trying to double talk him, and Chuck wasn't in the mood to hear any of it. He says, so let me help you out. I'm going to send my friend back to that same branch. And if you guys can't cash this $25,000 check, I'll be down by the end of business today, and please have me and my brothers $1.5 million that we've got in CDs ready, and I'm closing my account. President's like, send them back, please, Mr. Goldfar. This has been a horrible misunderstanding. Pop say when he gets back down to the bank, he just sees a white man in a suit, not inside the bank, standing outside the bank in the parking lot. He say before he could even walk in the bank, the white man say, "Are you Mr. Brown?" He says, "Yes." He said, "You associate Mr. Goldfar?"
Right.
He says he hands him the envelope with the $25,000 cash. Didn't even take the check. He come back down to Chuck. Chuck say they straightened it out for you, didn't they, Courtney? He say, yeah, I got the 25,000 cash and I still got the check. The Goldfar's money was talking.
Oh yeah, it was talking loud.
When he told them people, either you treat my friend nice or you give me back my 1.5 million, I'll find somebody else that can hold my money.
Oh no, they was hopping, boy.
The fat man used to say that money get them crackers hopping. When you pull out that big buddy, them crackers get the hopping, boy. So yeah, just a little funny story. Back in the day, yeah, if money talks, the fat man's money was screaming.
Screaming and hollering.
Was screaming and hollering.
R.I.P. Eddie Jackson.
R.I.P. And he's about to get his full flowers in 2023.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, and speaking of that, shout out to Eddie Baby down there. Happy New Year, brother. Down there at Real True Street Crimes. Shout out to Al Prophet, American Dope. We hollering at you real soon. Think Al should be in town soon. Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, Vinyl Apparel.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you guys got by there for the new year to check out Vinyl's Apparel, located on Davison between Linwood and Dexter. That is Vinyl's Apparel, Detroit's hottest in fashion apparel, and his sister business, brother business, located right next to it, Blazing
Hookahs.
You guys gotta check them out. Again, they're right there on Davison between Linwood and Dexter. Cannot miss it in the plaza. Vinyl's Apparel and Blazing Hookahs. Ask for Vinyl, ask for Bow Wow, ask for Kayla. Any of them will take care of you. Shout out to the whole family and team over there at Vinyl's. I did, I got a streak, so I popped in there. If I've been in town, I've not missed a Christmas Eve at Vinyl's in over 20-some years since we started when we opened Gear Unlimited around the street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it's good. Just an absolute institution in the neighborhood. And again, Vinyl's Apparel, I think that Vinyl's got the best fashion eye in the city. So shout out to him and make sure you guys get by there. Again, just mention Big Lou, mention Pops, mention Big Boss Filmworks, mention Motown Mafia Podcast, and the good people at Vinyl's Apparel will take care of you, or they'll take care of you over at Blazing Hookahs. You can also rent Blazing Hookahs for some private affairs. It's a great event space also.
Man, we got to do a show there.
I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean, like immediately, if not sooner, that's gonna happen. So, shout out to them. Speaking of Scott Bernstein and BMF, I was just rewatching Blowing Money Fast. So we're gonna do an episode by episode breakdown of Blowing Money Fast. So, in episode 1, a couple things struck out to me. Obviously, beyond, again, the fact that they gave some shine to Pops and Eddie when they were showing the photos of all the people who set the culture and tone in the city. None of this stuff happens in a vacuum. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Oh yeah, it's a lot of factors that bring these things together.
And one of the common ones is rags to riches.
Yeah.
So it's cool. And I think they did a great job at G Unit and at Stars. And shout out to the homie Cavario too. He's featured in Blowing Money Fast along with Scott Bernstein. Reached out to him. We'll probably be doing some stuff with him also in 2023. Meech and their family they were in a financial pinch.
Yes, they were.
They started off selling joints.
Yeah.
Meech and T did not know when they entered into this life
right.
that what they were about to start was about to impact black hip-hop culture, which is black culture, which is global culture.
That's right.
They were following, their neighbors talk about, like the lights and gas were always getting cut off at the Flannery house.
That's right.
Pop was a hard-working man.
Yep. Mom working at Wendy's.
Church-going woman. But the monies wasn't adding up.
No.
So, before people get to passing judgment on people, and because, see, once that domino starts to fall, you don't know where it ends.
That's right.
And so I think people just keep that all in mind, that before all of the making it rain, before the Lamborghinis and the Porsches, before, taking over every strip club in America, They were just two guys whose parents were catching hell in the American system. In Detroit, when the economy had turned south and people were losing their factory jobs.
Yeah.
And that Southwest Detroit was a challenged community.
And what was around you at that point?
As I think Meech he calls in from the joint in episode 1 of Blowing Money Fast. He says we didn't need you to say. He said you get a job, it take 2 weeks to get a check. We didn't have 2 weeks.
That's right.
We needed some money. You know, when DTE say you didn't had your extension, we didn't give you an extension of the extension. You've got an extension of the extension of the extension. If you don't have our money tomorrow, you're gonna be dark and cold. You can't tell them people, I get paid in 2 weeks.
Right, exactly.
And that's the backdrop of of when they get involved in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those when we finish telling the whole story of the Eddie Jackson story, you know, Pops always talks about when Eddie first started hustling, he had loaned him $50, and he felt so bad that Eddie didn't have no money. He didn't even want to come back down to the pool hall and ask him about it.
Right.
Yeah, the fat man couldn't pay back. When the fat man started hustling, his situation was so desperate he couldn't pay back a $50 loan.
Yeah. Let that sink in.
18 months later, he'd be worth millions. But let that people, all the people who reach that quote unquote kingpin status, if you do their backstory, the origin story, they were guys just trying not to be broke, and then they caught some breaks along the way, and their stories become these phenomenal Eddie Jackson, Big Meech, Frank Matthews kind of stories, right? They do a good job in episode 1 too of, I mean, you know, they kind of go to the end, which is just the phenomenon that has become BMF.
Yeah.
How it really impacted, again, just our culture.
Yeah, but pop culture at large.
And the effects of all that. So they also showed some photos of some other famous people we did work on. Go in our archives. We did a great thing on Frank Nitty Usher. They give Frank Nitty his roses. Demetrius Holloway.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've done some work on Demetrius. Al Provis done some work on Demetrius. Eddie Baby's done some work on Demetrius and Scott. YBI. White Boy Rick. Excuse me. White Boy Rick is also featured. And does some commentary in episode 1 of Blowing Money Fast. You know, we never did. It's the irony of life, right? Never did any business with Rick when he was on the streets, right? So how did me and Rick eventually end up doing business? Legitimately, we carry White Boy Rick's strand of cannabis at our cannabis shop.
Yeah.
And if things
what's your cannabis shop's name?
That's a dime shop up in Bay City, Michigan.
There you go.
Owned by some the architects of the family that we're running for. Yeah. But that's crazy, right? That's how Courtney Brown Jr. and White Boy Rick would end up doing business. Is the government getting 16% of the tax revenues generated and all kind of legitimate jobs. But it's really cool, actually, when you think about it.
Yes, I mean that's beautiful irony.
You know, so yeah, and so Rick got his shine. The Curry Boys, they got their shine also.
For sure.
And that's the one thing I can say about the BMF crew. They have always been, like I told you when Black Butch was down at visiting T at work, and
down at what was it, Al Wassam,
and T was telling them, you know, he's completely familiar with it. He had read all the Motown Mafia books. He'd seen the Motown Mafia documentary. Meech himself had stated to Scott that he architected his whole hustle from the example of Eddie and Pops, Doc Davis and Dwight, the Davis family, and YBI, and tried to take the best of all three of those organizations in building BMF. So they have never shied away from giving credit to where credit is due, and that they come out of a long line of
and truthfully, I can attest personally to BMF's Robin Hood generosity.
You got a great story. They can go in the archives and find. Tell them about that.
Yeah. Check out in the archives, and I'll probably redo the story. But it was BMF that I wound up doing graphic design for BMF. Didn't know I was going to do graphic design for BMF, but a rapper at the time, Big Gov, big up to Big Gov, had approached me about it, and it led into an interesting story.
Wow, yeah. So check that out, fam. Lou, long before BMF was on the radar of the authorities, but they were already big.
No, they was hot at that point.
Was they hot?
Oh, they was hot as fire. I mean, they were. Let me tell you, the guy whose name I'll keep out my mouth. But he told me, he says, we're trying to make, I think it was like where Cadillac Square is, the Cadillac Square, if I'm not mistaken. They had a wraparound window, and they were going to have it hooked up where you could sit out the window and look and be videotaped and all kind. I mean, it was huge. It was like they had the entire floor. Midpoint, and I'm like, man, look at this. You know what I'm saying? Had it came to its fruition, it would have been something to see. It was around the Super Bowl when the Super Bowl came to Detroit.
Wow. So yeah, check that out. Lou's encounters real life in person with BMF, right?
Oh yeah.
You met you met the Black Mafia family of the 70s and of the 90s.
Of the 90s.
Yeah.
Very, very similar ilk. I mean, they move more with family and finesse than chaos and guns.
To quote Mr. Alan Bradley, aka El Prophet.
That's right.
Murder and mayhem was not either one of those.
No.
Which is a salute to Eddie, which is a testament to Eddie Jackson's IQ and Demetrius Flannery's that no, based on family and friends.
That's right.
Not murder and mayhem.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, all intents and purposes, they really tried to run what they did like Fortune 500 businesses.
Scott, in his book Gangster Chronicles, where he does the Gentleman Gangster, the story of Eddie Jackson, the chapter on the story of the fact that you don't hear lots of obviously they didn't operate at that level of the game, either clique situation, without people having a more than healthy level of respect and quote unquote fear.
Right.
That you weren't gonna guerrilla them and take their shit or try to intimidate them.
Right.
But to purposely be bringing in violence is bad for business.
Yeah.
And as Scott puts, what Eddie understood is that shit's bad for the bottom line. All that violence and shooting and killing make it harder to make money. And what is we doing this for?
Right. Look at us.
To make money. Look at us. They explained, though, there was they paid their dues in BMF. There was this character, Leighton Simon, who's based on a real character.
Right on.
He was the reigning big shot down in Southwest Detroit as Meech and T started their rise. He was all about the violence, and it doesn't end well.
No.
For Mr. Leighton Simon. This character is kind of dramatized in it, but there, I was just thinking when I'm watching it, there is always that one guerrilla hustler.
Oh yeah.
And they always have the same fate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every guerrilla hustler, they always have the same fate because what did Papa always used to say about the stick-up man? He used to tell me, he said, Junior, the thing that the stick-up man always forget, I understand the stick-ups man job is to try to rob me.
Right.
He said, but what the stick-up man always forget is it's somebody else's job to take care of him.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And all those guerrilla hustlers end up with the same fate.
I mean, the old adage, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. Yeah. It's just, edicts.
Another similarity, and again, tie-in, because it all does tie in. It's all Detroit guys, Detroit stories. The impact that the 67 riots had on the Flannery family.
Yes.
And attitude. And of course, right after the riots in Detroit in 67, 68, the fat man gets his thing going in 69. Pop's situation driving the bus and the incident he has with the National Guard definitely changed his outlook and view. And I think is they stayed in the doc in the first episode of Blowing Money Fast. And Carl Taylor says the same thing in our documentary, which if you have not seen is available on Tubi TV and Amazon Prime. That is Motown Mafia.
Motown Mafia.
And of course the book Motown Mafia Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid is, yes, available on Amazon. But as Dr. Taylor says the same thing that they say in Blowing Money Fast. This town never that was this like turning point in Detroit.
Yeah.
The riots.
Yes, it was.
For better and for worse on a lot of ways. And then, are you familiar with the guy Edie Boyd, the guy who kind of, I guess if we want to keep drawing comparisons, he would be, well, it wasn't quite the John Claxton for Eddie Jackson, but he was the guy that schooled Meech. The 50 Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Meech and T were members of an organization known as the 50 Boys downriver. A brother by the name of Edie Boyd, who you can look on American Dope. Al has interviewed him and covered him.
Yeah.
And it was good that I was glad to see that they gave him a chance to get, because he's trying to do some things. I think he's got a book, and I think they're working on a documentary also about the 50 Boys.
Okay.
They took Meech and T from guys just selling joints of marijuana to introduce them to the gang, and they were called the 50 Boys because they sold 8 balls of cooked coke for $50. So that's a very good deal. Edie says he was tied in with some Mexicans, and that allowed him to put that $50 concept out there. And he doesn't seem to have any hate in that he kind of says he saw the potential in Meech early, and it didn't shock him that Meech would end up taking that hustle thing all the way to the moon. You know what I mean?
Big time.
So if you guys have not watched it, I do suggest if you like this kind of stuff and like this kind of content, again, you got the home team, Scott Bernstein's in there. You got some later episodes. Cavario chimes in. You know, Cavario spends a lot of time with Meech. And Kevin Childs tells a very interesting story, too. After he had interviewed Meech for Don Diva, he tried to put some money on Meech's books.
Oh, yeah.
Meech had so much money on the books, he couldn't even add any more to it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, check it out. Check out Blowing Money Fast. We're going to do a whole review on it. That's kind of our take on episode 1. Give you guys a little sneak preview on episode 2, the big homie KK.
Yeah.
Have been fortunate enough to be access and privy to some early excerpts of his book. You guys really keep an eye out that. I believe it is If the Bricks Could Talk.
Yeah.
That's the name
of his book. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys without going too deep in it, because he's got a great story
on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got a great story, and I want you guys to hear it from him about his brother, Lawrence and KK. So, but shout out to KK. He's got a great book that's about to be released. He's featured in episode 2. We are going to get him on the pod sometime in 2023. Another Detroit legend right here, and he's getting his shine and what him and his brother's Lawrence impact was on the game again. And it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool that they're getting that the history, that the people who actually made the history and made these legends, that the good people at G Unit took the time to say, well, let's go get some things straight from the horse's mouth and some people who really know. Let's not. It's Hollywood. But the doc's not Hollywood. The doc is what a good doc
the doc
should.
Is just
it's a truth documenting of the rise and the fall of BMF. But yeah. So looking forward to that. So we'll talk about that, and we'll definitely do a little deeper dive when we get to episode 2 of Blowing Money Fast.
Oh yeah, and the BMF series is going to whet your appetite for Motown Mafia YBI era.
Yeah, we started doing at least the initial work on the docu-series. So if you like the docu-series that they did, it's going to have a very similar format. It's going to cover what really happened with my pops and Eddie as they finish up their sentences in the early 80s, which is why we're calling it the YBI era, because when they are released, the YBI thing is front and center. Of course, those who know the story know how it all eventually ties in. So that's going to be hot. Maybe the end of the year, because I think we might be really, really busy this summer.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer.
So, but yeah, we want to get that docu-series out, and we should have a launch date real soon, for real, for the Patreon channel, because it is done and complete. It's a great piece of work that Lou led the team with on a project we did called Making of the Mafia, that really chronicles the last 10 years of Big Boss Filmworks, all the ups, downs, the people we've met, from the billionaire Ben Horowitz to Kevin Childs to Jamie Hector, aka Marlowe of The Wire, to the work done with Scott Bernstein, Al Prophet, Cavario, Brother Ice. Shout out to Ice and his man Kevin out at Harlem World.
Yeah, big time.
So many pops up at Black Star. Kenya Moore. When we was down in Miami, she's trying to pitch her thing. We're trying to pitch our thing.
Yeah.
But Making of the Mafia, it's gonna premiere on our Patreon channel. So just keep in touch. Keep in tune. We're gonna let you guys know exactly when you can start subscribing and get all of that real special kind of content.
We'll break down the tiers and everything very soon.
Coming forward. So that's gonna be hot. It's gonna be real hot. Right. So let's change lanes for a little bit.
Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Keep going though.
Okay. We're gonna talk about a phrase. I like to share information when I get it. There's a brother called Vusi. I'm not even gonna butcher his name, but if you check him out, VUSI. He is a entrepreneur, motivational speaker. He's based out of South Africa, but he's a big deal. He's got business affairs all over the world, actually, and probably is the most sought after public speaker in the motherland. But he speaks all over. He's got a great channel. And Vusi, VUSI, if you just search him on Google, his stuff will come up. He was explaining, Lou, again, we want to try to share some balance, because this whole thing we do about at Big Boss and on the pod and Motown Mafia and life in the struggle, we like to think is helping to not only give some history about the game, how it impacted Detroit, how it impacted our families, how the game has impacted society, but that the game is just a part of American culture, and outlooks and viewpoints, they go beyond the game. We just happen to come out of that cloth of the game, but we try to show how all of it is connected, because everything is connected. But Brother Vusi, who again I really wish you guys, he's one, it's so much foolishness on social media and some of these platforms now, but for those people out there who are doing something entrepreneurial or just want some motivational content, check him out, VUSI, and we'll be sharing some more of his work, and we'll put this description of this post that we're going to talk about called Fargan, which is Fargin. Fargan is a Yiddish word, I believe.
Okay.
It's about supporting your community, right?
Yeah, that was a great concept. Great school of thought.
And what he's saying, fam, and this is Martin Luther King's birthday we're taping on. And this is so to tie that in, this is Dr. King gave his life so that his people could have more, do better, and enjoy more of what this country is supposed to be about, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But in my opinion, if the black community is ever to really be able to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, this concept of Fargan, which is supporting your community and your community supporting you, we got to embrace that. So some examples of Fargan is the community is having a parade.
Okay.
And it's gotta pick somebody to perform at the parade. Well, we can go get somebody from another culture to organize it, or you find somebody from your neighborhood to organize it. Often in our community, because we'll say, well, when the local guy, when Ray Ray or Tamika, when she do it, she don't, her her furniture a little old. She don't have as many balloons. She only got one 360 camera, and the other people in the other community, they got 12 360 cameras to bring to it, and they got bigger banners, and they got a bigger bouncy room for the kids, and she only got one bouncy room. And we find all these reasons why we can't support her, even though she's from our community. And unlike other communities who take the far gone approach, which says, even if the member of our community may not be the best at it, and maybe they don't have all the resources that somebody else has from a different community, the person from our community gets to play. Because if you help the people in your community grow and get big, who is most likely going to be the one to employ your daughter, your son, your niece, your nephew?
Yeah, that's right.
See, we don't get that. And then he talks more, Vusi talks more about it, and somehow we've gotten to the point where we think it's cool to downgrade people in our community who are trying.
Right.
You don't hear, well, at least he tried. No, we hear, oh, look at them, they went out of business, it didn't work. I told you their prices was too high. But did you ever give them a play? Did you ever say, did the community ever organize and say, you know what, we need to get, it's only one black party store or dry cleaners around here, and we know they 30% more expensive than everybody else. So we going to tell them, look, the neighborhood, we going to stand by you for 6 months. But you need to get some better service. You need to start stocking up. But I know I can't ask you to stock up your store while we walk past you and go to Habibi every day. And then we go to Mr. Habibi or Mr. Korean. Their communities get wealthy. Our communities get poor. They are practicing this concept of far gone, of supporting members from your community. Those other communities don't have a whole system of bashing each other and seemingly taking joy not in people from the community winning, but taking joy from people in the community losing. And again, here on Dr. King's birthday, we just have to keep it real. We got to kill that crabs in a barrel. We find every excuse possible, sometimes not to support. You know, my brother Ray Tatum, shout out to Ray Tatum down in Atlanta, Getting Off Zero. You know, in our book, Getting Off Zero, Mind Right, Money Right, available on Amazon also. I think it's chapter 2. A white man's ice is colder than a black man's ice. But Ray, whose kiosk is right down there by Coca-Cola World Headquarters, he's sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Say it louder.
And black folks will come to him and ask him, is your Coke as cold as them other people's Coke? I mean, this is like a recent thing that happens. And it is so frustrating to we in the black business community that I understand the black business community's got to do a better job of providing goods and services. But the black consumer has got to understand, if the black businessman don't win, your neighborhood can't win. If your neighborhood don't win, we as a people can't win. And, you know, the black bourgeois educated class, they behave as we quote Dr. Woodson, like they're miseducated. They won't come back and invest in the communities, and it's allowing every other community to continue to get wealthy.
Right on.
But yes, far gone, supporting one's own community so that community can uplift them, so that they can then invest and uplift the community and the positive circle. So again, we're going to leave the link in there for you. That's FARGIN. Let's practice some far gone, and that is Brother Vusi. So when we come across people saying some interesting things that are worth thinking about, we do talk about some more stuff than just who moved the biggest bag. We know a little bit more than just how to weigh up a brick.
Right.
Even though the quote over, you know, if I sold some bricks, I figured I could sell some wigs and some hair and some books and some movies. I could sell some other stuff too.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's all we got for. That's all I got. Anything else on your mind, Brother Luke?
Man, I want to, just in the spirit of what you just spoke of, I want to send a big shout out to one of my longtime business liaisons, Kamal Norton, and your guy, his brother.
You talking about E?
Yeah,
Eric?
yeah, Eric.
Oh, what's the name of the print
Yeah,
shop?
it's All Pro.
All Pro, yeah, brother E. Shout out to E.
Yeah,
shout
big
out to
them.
Kamal. We've been breaking bread with them for.
No, I mean, for me, it's been close to 15, 16 years for me. Another great black business person I know is my man DeCarlo Stewart, aka Visor.
But do you remember when I didn't know that was E's print shop?
Oh God, that was hilarious.
So, and this is a real example of, even though sometimes some things don't go right because we in black business community, and these brothers got resources and things. But anyway, they used to have a little niche in their system when if you paid online, they've worked it all out. All Pro is booming, one of the premier print shops in Southeast Michigan.
Yeah, big time.
But anyway, it was like it was double. They had double charged my account or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm shout out to Kamal. I'm letting him have it. I am letting him have it. This ain't right. This ain't no way to do business. Your brother's got to do better. Yada yada yada. And then E, his older brother, steps out of the back, and I see him, and he my man. We go back. Yeah. Shout out to all that crew off Linwood, to DD, Sugar Man, all them, right? Mm-hmm. Shout out to Suge too, who's doing just a fabulous job. He's done what he did. He's a preacher now. He's got a great church out in Birmingham. So shout out to Sugar Man too. But so E come out the back, and I'm like, oh, E, you got something to do with this? And he like, yeah. And I'm like, so now I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to really kind of go off on your man like that. And I didn't even know that was his brother. Okay. Of course, E being E, he's like, shit, tell him how you feel. But we've been breaking bread.
We've been breaking bread for them for a while.
For a long time.
Oh yeah.
And again, I do business. We do business with the Korean community, the Arab community, the white community. Shout out to the Jewish community. But I ain't got to apologize. Said I'm going to look to do business with my own people first.
Right. Absolutely.
Because all my friends in the Jewish community, the Arab community, and the Korean community are going to look to do business with people in their community first. Mm-hmm. It's only normal and natural.
You're right.
So, but you're saying somebody else, Visor? Who are you saying?
Oh yeah, my man DeCarlo Stewart, Visor. He actually has a film out on Tubi. I can't remember the name of it, but I just saw it flash up. I think it's called, God, I had to look it up and I'll get it back to you guys. But he's also the proprietor of Vuvaka.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, we need to get him on here too. I remember
that's
when
my man. Yeah.
Seen I think he had customized the Benz or something, or SUV or something.
Yeah, he had his Vu label all over it. He has a couple of restaurants. What's it called? The chicken. I believe it's the Wingstop, I believe it's the Wingstop.
No, Wingstop. It's a big franchise.
No, it's the Wing Shop or something like that. But all these things I put on the description, on the descriptions, and maybe even flash a little flyer for them.
All right, family. So there it is, episode 58, Motown Mafia podcast. Oh, lastly but not leastly, Diaspora Plug has started to repopulate. Mm-hmm. So you guys will be able to see some videos over there. I think we just got the first one back up, but we will be regularly. So resubscribe. Hate to send you guys through it again. Resubscribe to the Diaspora Plug. It is back functioning. And then again on Patreon, we got some real specialized entrepreneurial, some real street stuff that on location, Big Apple, and a lot of other travel stuff you just can't see and get anyplace else but at Motown Mafia. And so, Motown Mafia Podcast, Big Boss Filmworks, Big Lou in the house, CRB, signing out, Junior.
Much love to
Holla
all.
at your man. Next month, Phil Marshall's birthday. We got to do something special for Pop's birthday.
We got to do
something special. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah,
big
Phil
time.
Marshall, the professor's turning 84. God is good next month.
God is good, man. That's great.
So, holla at your man.
Peace.